West Ham will do whatever it takes to sign Jesse Lingard this summer. That's the words from a top source at West Ham, according to Sky Kaveh. Now, before we get into that, just a few ones. I need a few favours today from you lovely people watching this. I need a few favours. First of all, to put up with me for the next 5 to 10 minutes, because Gonzo's not around today, so I'm coming from again. I'm getting into the swing of things. I'm not going to quite make 8:30, but it won't be far off. So just as I'm getting into the swing of uploading for 8:30, not very well at that, but I'm getting there. Gonzo's back doing his videos, which is good. He should be back tomorrow, but he can't do it today because he's got stuff on. So here you are, you're putting up with me trying to drag this Jesse Lingard video out a little bit. But anyway, second favour. What is too much for Jesse Lingard? Because this is the key question now, isn't it? I guess that is the question in everybody's head when you read this statement. West Ham will do whatever it takes to sign Jesse Lingard. But what is too much? Because there is such a thing, isn't there? Would you pay 100 million for him? No, you wouldn't. Therefore, we've agreed there is a thing that's too much. So what is your valuation? Just get that in the comments. And I've got another couple, but I'll get onto them in just a second. So, Sky Kaveh last night, top source told him we will do whatever it takes to sign him. Him being Jesse Lingard, and they went on to add he's been outstanding. Now, firstly, it can't just be me, but does anyone else read that and hear David Sullivan in their head? I can't be the only one that hears David Sullivan speaking when they read that from Sky Kaveh. Now, listen, it might not be David Sullivan, okay? I am just speculating here, but it's almost guilt by association, okay? Because this is a Sullivan kind of thing. Whenever it comes to transfers, and it says a top source, I always assume it's Sullivan. And when it's not to do with transfers, if it's to do with the London Stadium or season ticket prices or something, I tend to attribute it to David Gold, which I think is fair. I do believe that's fair. So anyway, top source, could be Sullivan, might not be Sullivan, says we'll do whatever it takes. And I think, while that's factually incorrect, because we won't, will we? Will we swap him for Declan Rice? No. Will we pay 50 million for him? No. I'm aware it probably wouldn't take either of those things to get Jesse Lingard. However, I think it's factually incorrect. But I guess the question is, what is it going to take? Because in January when we signed him, and this was always a danger, no option to buy in. I had concerns in January about it, and I think my concerns are valid now. The no option to buy, the no anything. We just got, I feel like West Ham have now got a gun to the head a little bit with the Jesse Lingard thing, because it's sort of like we almost do have to pay whatever it takes, because he's such a key player now that it's almost unbearable thinking about West Ham next season without having Lingard in the squad, because he's come in, he's smashed it. 6 goals, 3 assists or something, and 9 goal contributions in 8 games for us is outstanding. And he's such a key player already that we need him next season. We can go spend all the money on a striker, but also that's something you've got to consider, really, isn't it? Because if we are targeting our striker at the minute, which we would fully expect, surely you're assuming that striker is going to be playing with Jesse Lingard. Surely you have to take into consideration, when you target a striker, you have to take into consideration who's going to be playing behind him, who's going to be playing in and around him. Is it going to be Ben Ram? Is it going to be Fanals, Lingard, Bowen, whatever? You've got to take that into as a factor, because they are your striker supply line. And Lingard setting up a striker is completely different to the way Ben Ram would set up the striker, which is completely different to the way Janet Bowen sets up the striker. And I think you've got to take these things into consideration. So if you're scouting for a striker on the assumption that Jesse Lingard will be at West Ham next season, then you've got to make sure Jesse Lingard is at West Ham next season, haven't you? I did a video last night on the main channel, but they're saying that I love him as much as Dimitri Payet, and I stand by that because I think he's become as influential. I think Dimitri Payet is the better individual. I think Jesse Lingard is arguably the better team player, which is what this season squad's all about. That team bond, that ethic, that heart that they play with. But how much is it going to cost? But before I get into my evaluation, here comes my second last favourite. I've only got one more after this one, don't worry. Hopefully you've already got your too much valuations on Jesse Lingard ready to go in the comments. But my other favourite is the Patreon. I know we bang on about it a lot, but that's because it's important to us. We've got a rough idea of what we need to be full-time doing Hammers Chat, myself and Gonzo, helping out one or two other people, Charlie, part-time, where they get a little bit of money off the back of it. And we're about 55% there, so we're still a long way to go. But we're over halfway to something that is, it feels like a ridiculous dream, really. Our personal circumstances have changed. Obviously, Gonzo's spoken about his. I'm not as open as Gonzo. The patrons know about it a little bit, but I haven't gone into too much in detail about it, but it would explain. There's a reason I don't have anything behind me anymore. So listen, it would be a dream to do Patreon full time. So £3.60 per month. If you can, my question is, would you like to help the channel for £3.60 per month? And if the answer is yes, we'd much rather you join Patreon. We prefer that to super chats or anything like that, because then you get something in return. Because when you join up, whatever tier you join up, you get benefits. You get extra videos, and you get player ratings, morning podcasts. Every match day, myself and Gonzo do a 10-15 minute video in the morning. Sometimes it's about West Ham, the team news. So for the Wolves game, we was discussing Declan Rice injury. If we don't have much team news, we tend to just discuss random stuff, but it seems to work. A mug of tea, myself and Gonzo, that's a monthly cup of tea, so it's a bit more laid back, not as much West Ham, a bit more personal kind of thing. And then we've got the Patreon podcast, I think I mentioned, but the guest on there is a patron. We've got an opposition view, which is what I do. I take a look at the team we're ready to play, what I think the formation will be in the lineups. I don't do too badly, I do say so myself. Right, listen, I'm going to shut up about it. Merchandise discount, WhatsApp group, there's loads of stuff from £3.60 per month. But if you wouldn't mind supporting the channel, go to patreon.com/HammersChat, or check out the link in the description or the pinned comments, because the dream is somewhat visible a little bit, and it's sort of make or break a little bit, because if we don't quite make it, then we're going to have to sort of scale back and not do Hammers Chat full time. That's why I can do this video this morning. Getting into the swing of covering for Gonzo, really, and he comes back and does videos. I'm not quite happy. I'm aware I'm not going out for happy. I'm getting better, right? But Gonzo will be back tomorrow. So that's the second last favour. Sorry to go on about it, but so anyway, we're going to get people to join Patreon, I guess. So anyway, back to the topic in hand. Jesse Lingard, his valuation. When we signed him, I reckon he would have been worth 15 to 20 million. He's got 1 year to go in his contract. He's nearly 30 years old. He's frozen out at Manchester United. 3 appearances, not many minutes accumulated this season. 15 to 20 million. Now he's over 20 million. I think he's closer to 25 than 20 anyway, and that's now. There's still another 8 games to go this season. If he continues up his form and he gets into the England Euro squad, I do also think that helps the Man United more than West Ham. I think his valuation is just increasing. Every game we play, it seems that Jesse Lingard's valuation goes up a little bit. The difficulty for West Ham to sign Jesse Lingard goes up a little bit. But also, the pressure on West Ham to sign Jesse Lingard also increases. Because for the reason I've just said, we need him. We need him next season. It's unforgivable to think about us not having Lingard next year. And it all comes down, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to 2 things. One, does Jesse Lingard want to come to West Ham? Now, we can only judge what we see as a West Ham fan or as a football fan, you're not a Hammer. And I would agree that if people are saying yes, he probably would. I would agree with that, because he's going to get game time. He's going to be a big fish in a small pond mentality thing compared to a small fish in a big pond at Old Trafford. We may have European football. His wages will be comparable to what he's on at Old Trafford. We've never, to give credit to Sullivan and Gold, and it might sometimes be a bad thing, but they've never really shied away from paying big wages when they've had to. So that's all going good for him. He looks like he's enjoying his football. He looks happy at West Ham. He's done his social media posts and that, which suggests he is enjoying life at West Ham with the players around him. But I think Jesse would want to come. But the second question is, what's it going to cost? Because there's got to be a point where we think this is too expensive for us. The closer we get to 30 million is when I personally start to think this is getting a bit pricey. This is getting a bit expensive, because bear in mind, we're going to pay, if let's just say Jesse Lingard's 25 million, that's 25 million to keep the squad as it is. 25 million to not upgrade the squad. That's a lot of money to spend just to stand still, because that's all we'll be doing. Dawson signed for 2 million now, that's good, but 25 million to just stand still is expensive. Balbuena's leaving in the summer as well, we know that, so he may need replaced. Moyes may have faith in Sky Kaveh stepping up and becoming that extra centre back in the first team squad, so we might not have to worry about that. But 25 million, and that's, we know we need to spend big on a striker, we want to spend big, or we get the impression that David Moyes wishes to spend big on a striker. Suddenly we could be spending over 50 million to add one player to the squad, which is costly. That is costly business for West Ham. But is it too costly, I guess, is the question, really. I've always believed that to sign the perfect player, there's no such thing as too much, because you know what you're getting. And there's a few examples of it in the Premier League. Sadio Mane at Liverpool is probably my favourite one. When he went from Southampton to Liverpool for 50 million, a lot of eyebrows were raised. But you had to think that the guy that ticked every single box that Klopp wanted. A hard-working winger, a bit of pace, can score goals, can do assists, can play anywhere across the front three. 50 million, maybe it was too much for Mane at Southampton, but what he was getting was someone that fitted perfectly into his setup, and that can be priceless somewhat. And I think Jesse Lingard does that. I think he fits perfectly into what Moyes wants to do, and that somewhat comes priceless. So on paper, Jesse Lingard at 30 million seems expensive, but is it? Because we know what we're getting, we know the character that we're getting, we know how important it is for Moyes to have players that fit the way that he wants to play, but also off the pitch, the way they work hard and stuff. You know, I think Jesse Lingard covers something like 12 and a half kilometres per game, more than anyone else against Wolves, which is a ridiculous number. So it proves that he's working hard for the team, he's putting his shift in, and that, I think, sometimes can't really be measured in pound notes. A lot of stuff can, but I don't think the perfect player can, if that makes sense. Probably not. Anyway, I've got one more favourite, then I'm going to skedaddle, but let me know about your Jesse Lingard thoughts. Myself and Gonzo are going to be doing a video. I've mentioned it a couple of times now. It's transfer based. It's a bit of fun. Sometimes you can get too bogged down in the politics of West Ham, including us, especially us, doing a video every day about West Ham news and rumours. But now and again, it's good to have a bit of fun. So we're doing a collaboration with a website called 5 Yards. They're like it's hard to explain. We'll go into more detail in that video. But basically, on the website, they've got a database of players which have their evaluations and scout reports. So what we're going to do, I've got Gonzo's 4 or 5 players here, I've got my 4 or 5 players. I'm going to get the scout reports for those players. Myself and Gonzo are going to do a little video, having a little look at the players that we like, what their evaluations are, and we're going to spend a virtual budget, our transfer shopping list for the summer, if you like. Then what we're going to do is 2 live videos. The first one will be about the striker, and the second one will be about spending the rest of the budget on a midfielder, a defender, whatever. But that's where the live chat will direct us. But what we need is a little bit of prep. So any players you would like us to scout, I say scout, me and Gonzo are not doing any scouting, any players that you might want us to bring up on the screen for their scout reports and their evaluation, can you put them in the comments? Because if we go live and someone says, oh, En-Nesyri at Sevilla, we're going to have to type and screen share. It's going to get a bit messy pretty quickly, so we need to be a bit prepared, so we can get the heads up on some of the players you want to see and perhaps buy together in your little community, in your little virtual budget. That'd be good, because then we can get prepared for it. So when we do go live, we've already got En-Nesyri and 3 or 4 other players already ready to get up on the screen and discuss. I know it doesn't make too much sense, but hopefully when you watch the first video, which is just myself and Gonzo, it will make a bit more sense, and we'll do the live ones. Myself and Gonzo are looking forward to it. It's been a while since we've done an interactive live video together, for obvious reasons, so we're looking forward to getting back into it. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and disappear, but before I do, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in a bit.